Come in. So welcome everyone to the Swordmaker Book Club. We're only 2 months late, so sorry. The Swordmaker launched the beginning of January, and it is now the middle of March. So here we are. I just wanted to give you guys a good long time to get this book read before we discussed it. So here we are. So we were just talking to Greg. He's in California. We also have Terry in Utah, Lila in Australia, Debbie in Illinois. Andy is Illinois, right?
Andy's in Guam.
I know, but Debbie, you're in Illinois, right? It's not like
Yes.
right, okay. There's so many I's, like Iowa and Ohio is I in my head. Then Andy is in Guatemala. Garrett is here. Yay! And I know that
He's in
Garrett is in
Iowa.
Iowa because I shipped him 2 things today that should be on the way. And don't blame the post office when you look at the box. That was me. And then Karen in Wisconsin. No, you guys, I had a day and I had to ship Garrett these 2 t-shirts, and the damn things would not fit in the envelope. And so I made them fit in the envelope because I had already addressed the envelope. So there is at least half a roll of tape. Your shirts are fine. I'm not promising anything else. That was me, not the post office. So we're going to stop right there. And then Karen is in Wisconsin. I will say I did not pack any baby diapers in this package, as I have done in the past. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm honestly just really excited to hear what you guys have to say about this book. So first off, I think we should just start with general impressions and or things that you loved about the Swordmaker. If someone's talking and you have something you want to say, you can raise your hand on Google or just raise your hand so I can see you and I'll acknowledge you and then I'll go to you next, just so that we have some semblance of order, which really isn't my forte. So there you go. And Terry's laughing. He's like, this is never going to work.
Do you need me to moderate? I can be
You gotta like fight for your opinion at this point. Right? Anyway, so hit me with your best shot. What did you love about the Swordmaker? Go for it, Terry. Go for it.
Oh, I think the thing I liked the best about it was the entire decision making that Andrei had to make between what he was brought up to be versus what his first love was. And that was not only the whole thread through everything, but when the decision finally came, it was something that it was like the path was just open and the others just, it was the first time I actually guessed on who was actually going to take over. That's the first time I've ever caught you. But other than that, that was my true, I mean, it's like, it's a true love. It's something that, and it resonated with me. And, I was raised up to be a farmer and then I wound up wanting to be a nurse instead. So I didn't please my dad, but I pleased my mom. So what the heck?
I guess you can't please everyone. I love the thought. I'd never thought of it this way, but it is a true love. Like sword making really was Andrei's true love. That's a cool way to say it. Thanks, Terry. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Andy.
Oh, sorry, forgot
No,
the hand.
You're good. You're good. We'll go to Lila after Andy. So it begins. Go ahead, Andy. Wait.
All right, I'm gonna take because the girls are sort of quiet now.
Oh,
I
take
loved how he was so open to the process and just letting the magic flow and being so open to being guided. Like, okay, I'm not gonna force it. I'm gonna just let it go. And go with it. Yeah, and he just went with it, and I think that's how he started falling in love with it, because he went from knowing nothing. From knowing nothing to actually knowing the whole process, and I think we guys, come on, I think we got to learn with him the process of sword making.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
So I really, really like that.
Lila, what you got?
Well, I loved all that. You know how I just adore all that. It's so delicious the way he did just listen and got guided to places and did it. And I just, as you know, I so relate. I so relate to that. And so I just felt like, yeah, I just loved that about the whole story, that it's like, for me, that was the biggest part of it all, was is like Terry was saying, that fact that he just was giving into it, though he struggled with it, though he kept saying yes to it, but it was like, it was always like this, what people would call a guilty pleasure kind of thing. And then finally realizing, and then because of what happens in the story, the way you do it, he realizes that, see, by listening to what I was asked to do by the magic, this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't, done what it was asked me to do. And I just love that.
I think Andrei's story, at least a thematic thread through all of you, is it's really a story about letting go, right? Like,
Yeah.
Andrei just sort of like, all right, I'm here for the ride. Like, eventually, he really balks at first and he's not super comfortable. But I think Andrei eventually, it is a story of admitting, like, I'm not in control. I'm just gonna see what happens here. Which is,
And that trust.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
being
a
very
good-
open, very open to change, because he even says that he'd been raised for so long to do something, and he had that kind of like ingrained, and just being able to say, okay, I'm gonna give this a try. I'm gonna be open about it. I'm gonna just go with it and see where it takes me.
Yes, that's perfect. Debbie.
Well, I think that at some point, all of us have been at a crossroads. He had to decide between what he's used to and the unknown. And that's the conversation that he had with Ma'am about that had me in tears, because it's just so special the way she talks to him.
Yeah.
And teaches him to do his own thing.
I know. I love his mama. She's she's a spunk. I love spunky old ladies. I don't know if you've noticed that. I aspire to be a spunky old lady, and I'll take that in the British sense too. Have you guys heard? Like, I've gotten emails from readers in the UK because I apparently use the word spunky several times, and apparently it means something else in the UK.
Oh.
Yeah, spunky in the UK, like if you're describing a spunky woman, it's a woman with a high sex drive, basically.
Oh.
See, not over here. No,
Yeah.
no.
Not in the US.
It's the same for us with you. It's like, just means they've got, spunk,
Pluck. They're plucky. They're plucky.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
I'm glad that you liked that conversation with Mama, because really she's really the person that he has left, and like the person that he really trusts, because Anastasia, his fiance, is as much an obligation as the rest of his life, right? Like, so much of Andrei's world revolved around obligation. So I loved the introduction of the magic to his life, because it brought instant conflict, because he's a man of obligation and responsibility, and this is absolutely the antithesis. Like, his culture doesn't even use swords. So he's like making something that they can't even use, right? Like, they don't even use it. Welcome, Diane. So good to see you.
Hello.
We're talking about what we liked about the Swordmaker, or any initial thoughts that you want to start a discussion on. Do you have any?
Not right this moment.
You'll warm up to it. Oh, I have questions. Go ahead, Terry. Did you have some?
I was just gonna say, I'm curious what Greg thinks.
I'm curious. I haven't read the book. I just found out about the book in this meeting about sorry.
No, you're good.
20 minutes ago. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's interesting dichotomy in the Middle Ages between the church that wanted to get rid of witches and wizards and the people feeling that blacksmiths and knife and sword makers were magicians because they take dirt and turn out swords.
Yeah.
Church
Wow.
used these
I
swords and
knew that.
knives,
Yeah,
but they
like
did
alchemy.
with wizards who were doing black magic. So the Christian church had a dichotomy that they never really solved. And there's a good series you can see on YouTube about some French and English history professors trying to rebuild a castle and doing all the chores the old-fashioned way. There's about 25 hours of episodes I found so far, and they're doing it.
Cool.
And a couple of really, really good ones on this conflict between sword makers and church blacksmiths in the church.
Cool.
Evil.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Like when I was kind of studying up on sword making and bladesmithing and all that kind of stuff, along the lines of what you said, like the whole they take dirt and turn it into something else like a magician. They would even like take the bones of ancestors and ground them up and use them to kind of like use those bones to absorb the slag. And so there would be like some sense of my ancestors are part of this sword. They're protecting me. The sword is extra strong, that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's fascinating. It was really interesting. You can kind of see where it comes from.
In real life, that wouldn't work, but people would believe it. You know, a lot of the early swords were really bad metallurgy.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. Just from, I mean, I was researching for like a week, and then I actually hired a real life blacksmith and sword maker to, I interviewed him and he gave me some resources, and then I had him read through the bladesmithing scenes that I wrote, and he kind of gave me thoughts, and then we generate questions and have discussion. It was really cool. So hopefully for those of you that know stuff, because I know Terry loves it and is really interested too, hopefully this bladesmithing aspect like rang true for everyone.
It sounds like you did your work right.
Well, yeah, but you never know how it actually turns out.
I loved it.
Oh, thank you. I was actually concerned. I am curious. How was the pacing for you guys of the sword making parts? Were you interested in how the swords were made, or did those kind of lag for you?
Silly question.
I know your answer.
I liked it.
I liked how it
it.
went. I liked it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good
Hi,
to hear.
Garrett.
Yeah.
And then we also have, I don't want to butcher your name. Is it Edina? Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I love the name Dinah. I think it's such a cute name. If you can, here, I'll ask you to unmute. If you can unmute, then you can correct me from butchering your name. I'm so sorry.
Okay, it's
There.
Edina.
Edina. Oh, I
Edina.
love it. So Edina or Adina?
Edina, just Edina.
Adina. Okay, Adina. I think the capital D threw me off.
That's right. The E's very little. The E's very little.
I love it. Where in the world are you?
Australia. We're in Queensland at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have
I've been reading
Lila.
all your books, and this is the first time I've dialed into anything because of the time difference, obviously.
Yes.
But
Yes, Lila is also, she's in South Australia. So she's drinking her
Okay.
snacks from South Australia. Part of the reason we do these in the evening is for my Australians, because it's a lot easier for you guys with the time change. But then we lose all the UK people because it's 2 a.m. for UK people. So that's unfortunate. Well, welcome. It's great to have you. So we have just been talking about what we loved about the Swordmaker. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up or talk about with the book?
To be perfectly honest, Katie, you're writing so fast for me. I haven't finished the Swordmaker yet. I haven't got to the pictures. I've got them all here ready and waiting. But I don't seem to have the same time to read that you have to write. So
I know. I actually do it about 8 hours a day. You don't have that?
I love that. I love that, Katie, that like you're probably the only author that hears from her readers saying, "You're writing so fast, I can't keep up." I don't know anybody else who gets to hear that.
Yeah, we're all waiting.
I know, it's pretty wild. I mean, when you look at it from a distance, it seems a little unreal that these books come out this fast. I mean, frankly, I feel the same way. So I don't know how it happens any more than any of you know.
I
Yes.
think you're unique, young lady.
Oh, thank you. I think Alcara has a big voice and I have a big ear, and we listen a lot to each other. But I'm so glad you dialed in. It's so fun to meet readers, even if you haven't finished The Swordmaker, and you'll always know that I'll have more for you. There's always going to be more for you. That's wonderful. It's so great to meet you. We love our Aussies coming in. I forgot to ask, did anyone have questions that they wanted to ask about The Swordmaker? Terry? My friend, I've prepared for you.
Oh, start with number 1.
He pulls out a paper.
Hang on, I'll just go get my snacks.
Yeah, you might need a meal.
Okay, number 1. Is this before or after the Mansell Compact?
Oh, way before. Let me look. I've actually just started creating. You would think after 62 books I would have a timeline, but I just barely created a timeline, and it's the biggest document, like spreadsheet I've ever seen in my life. Let me look because I have.
What was the question again? I didn't.
Did it happen before or after the Mansfeld Pact, basically?
Oh, okay.
Terry.
Okay.
This happens like 300 to 400 years before.
Oh wow.
The Dragon Master trilogy. So it's almost 500 years before the Mansfeld Pact. Yeah.
Then in the books where you at the heading of the book and you have the different people put in their 2 cents worth or whatever, you know how you started each chapter.
Yeah.
What they bounced around, so there was no way of saying that was caused by, you know, the time. What are we looking at in the sense of, okay, was this, how far, again, it's like, how far was this away from being from the War of the Gods and Goddesses, when the
from the Mortal Wars. Yeah, from Esmelda. About 1200 years.
Wow.
So we're looking at about like 1700 years from the time that Esmelda began the network structure, when the goddesses kicked the brothers out of Alcara to Bianca. So there's a really big chunk of time where we don't actually know what happened.
And you're trying to fill it all up.
You know, it's working so far. I never in my life like had plans to fill it, but I do in general have a vague plan to cover Esmelda. Esmelda has a trilogy. It's called the Mortal Wars trilogy, and that's all I know about it. So we have a pretty big time gap. But as far as published works, this is the earliest you have of Alcara.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to read it, and don't ruin it for me. But Andrei also appears as the love interest of somebody later on in Bianca's world. Yeah, so it must be incredible longevity.
Andrei is a title. So for the last 400 years, basically, until you get to Bianca's Andrei, all the previous Andreis have just basically passed this mantle. It's like a mantle, sort of, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
In fact, there's actually 2 Andreis in Bianca's lifetime. The one that the one that made the one that made Vivite, and the one that
her sword,
and then the one that repaired Vivite.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Somehow I didn't recognize that was 2 different Andreis.
Oh, I thought it was the same one.
Terry is just on it. Terry is, I'm super impressed.
I thought
Terry.
it was the same one.
No, so if you read short stories from the network series, when Derek originally gets the Veets, like on the Protector mission that he's on, you see that there's a different Andrei that gives him the sword, and then in the Veets, the novella, that Andrei like starts talking to Vivit and recalls the Andrei that actually forged her.
That's
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There's gonna be a little twist though.
Oh!
Isn't there always?
You're all shocked.
There wouldn't be a Katie book if there wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like give spoilers, but not everything is as it seems. And when you read Vivit Forged, all will be answered. So the reader request series, one of the stories that is most requested is Vivit's origins. Like they just want more of Vivit and Andrei, like when Andrei was forged. So Vivit Forged is the 6th reader request short story that we'll be doing later this year, and that will cover the actual forging of Vivit, because Vivit is the original sword that creates, oh gosh, I can't remember my own sword names. But it's basically like Dragonfire, like the swords that illuminate with a fire. Vivit's the original. And the discoverer of such steel is not who you think it is. And that's the story.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Now we have to wait. Now we have to wait.
I know. You guys wait so long.
I just say not long,
tell
though.
us this stuff, so then we have to wait.
I know. All right, Terry. Oh, go ahead, Greg. Did you have something?
Number 2?
Number
When
2?
you were talking to your
Number 2.
advisor.
Oh, I
Sorry.
think I'm. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg, and then we'll go to Terry's next question.
When you were talking to your advisor, did he talk to you about the secret ingredient that they didn't find for a long time? That if the ore has a very, very small amount of vanadium, you get much better quality steel.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Okay. If you look up, there's some very good videos on making Damascus swords, ancient Syrian and so on, and they found out recently it was the ore had just a tiny trace amount less than 1/10 of 1% vanadium, greatly improved the swords.
Huh.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard that. I've been taking liberties on the magical creation of my swords and like sticking unexpected stuff in there that you wouldn't think, like dragon scales, which would be Vivit. Ground dragon scales.
Sure, maybe they've.
Yeah, maybe. But I have magic to finish my swords out. So the quenching process is quite different when you have magic at the end, right? Like, Terry, did you have any other questions?
I'll let somebody else go and ask some things, and then I'll come back.
Terry's like 546. Andy, go for it.
I wanted to ask why you put those like references at the beginning, like those snippets of diaries. They kept throwing me off at first.
Really?
And I was like,
I know they were all they were all over the place.
And,
You're like,
and then as the book progressed, I kind of found a relation. I don't know if you meant it to be between what was going on there and kind of like metaphorically explain what was going to happen to. But at first they kept throwing me off, and I was like, all right. I even got to a point saying, okay, I'm not going to read those.
Oh, that's good to know.
You know how curious I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I not read it?
Yeah, I was like, did it work? So that's actually something I've always wanted to do. I've seen other authors do it where there's like sort of a preface to every chapter. So for Greg and Adina, what she's talking about is I have like little snippets taken from not journals, but basic, like at the beginning of every chapter. And I've always wanted to do that as a way to sort of foreshadow or world build and connect the reader just in a totally different way with different people that you're only going to meet through their own words, which I think is really interesting because as an author, it creates a new challenge where I have to present these people with personalities entirely through a single subject, but I want them to have a voice, right? So it's really fun for me to like, how do I make them sound this way? And then how do I show more about this whole culture? Because some of you and I have talked about this before, but in the Swordmaker, it almost, I think Debbie said this, it almost felt like it wasn't Alcara, right? Because the whole tribe is so removed, like the clan, I mean, the clan is so removed that it is almost like I wrote it outside of Alcara. So there's like fathoms deep that we could have gone into their history and culture. And that was one way for me to introduce you more into this culture and these people in this world, while also providing some relevance to what he's going through. So it was the headings were very intentional. Some of them were supposed to be foreshadowing. Some of them were just extrapolating on something else that you're going to learn, or, other things like that. But it's good feedback to have that they were more distracting than anything, because if you didn't like it.
No, it was at
No, I didn't.
first.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, actually, I wrote them all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I sat down one day and I was like feeling it. Who was the one? What's her name? Odessa. Odessa is the one that I did the most of. And then the rest, I think Odessa, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have them all in a timeline. Odessa is one of the reelers. She's like a historian. She called herself a historian. I just sat down and I don't know, like their voices were just in my head. And so I was like, fine, I'll get out of the way. So I just sat down and I just wrote all of them. And I think I was short like 2 or 3 at the end of the book, but I already knew how the plot line was kind of going to go. So then I would just put those at the beginning of every chapter that I knew that they belonged to. And then some of them I kind of had to move around, but I hardly had to tweak them at all. Like they just kind of came out the way they were supposed to come out, and I put them in the book. So Andy, did it eventually you like them, or were they just too scattered to really provide a good experience for you?
So I think it was getting used to it because you hadn't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I couldn't find relation between what it was describing and whatever. And I did think, okay, so we're getting to know the culture a little bit more, but the first 4 or 5 chapters, it was really distracting because I couldn't find
like what's going on?
Yeah, I was like, you're jumping from here to there, and we're not talking about this anymore, and whatever.
Yes.
But then it started making sense, and the later ones, I was actually looking forward to reading them.
Okay.
I especially liked one that had like a poem, or like a small story. It was a bit longer. I really loved that one.
Okay,
but
good.
Yeah, at a certain point, they started making sense in my mind, and I was actually looking forward to them.
Okay, that's good, because I have there's a historical collection book titled The Witch Without Magic, and it's where I'm going to explain the origin of Faline Borg for those of you that have read Derek.
Oh, whoa.
I know. The Witch Without Magic has been in my head for like 8 years. And it wasn't until I wrote Derek, because I just haven't ever been able to hit the storyline. And then I wrote Derek and I was like, oh, I was waiting to discover this about Alcara, because now I know that the Witch Without Magic is actually supposed to describe Faline Borg. Okay, so now I've got it all collected and I can't stop thinking about it. But with the Witch Without Magic, I plan on doing something similar, but it's going to be a single person, and it's going to sort of like every heading will be part of their journey, so you can follow it. Like it would be an organized timeline and fashion, so you could actually follow it through. Because believe it or not,
I think that would be helpful.
Order.
Because the
order.
one, the dates kept moving so much, and I started overthinking it. Like, all right, is the moving of the dates related to this, or is it just coincidence? And that, I think that's what kind of kept throwing me off. I couldn't find how it clicked. Like 2 puzzle pieces that fit together, but you're not quite sure how.
But where?
Yeah, and it's like all the corners and all the other sides are like fit.
Yeah, I kept on flipping back and forth, seeing like what dates were they, and then eventually I just said I'm not going to pay attention to the dates anymore, and like I read it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you've told me this. I had no idea. Because to me, I was like, whatever, I'll just put a date on. Like, and then the only thing I did was like, well, I probably better keep the dates consistent between people because Odessa can't be 300 years old, right? So I did like, I did eventually do that. It's good to know. I have to assume you're going to overthink everything. I'm just kidding. So I will. So that helps though. That helps a lot. I love that feedback because for sure then with The Witch Without Magic, it'll be a consistent like story from heading to heading to heading about a specific character. Because actually the heart of The Witch Without Magic, it's a love story. It always has been. It's just set in the backdrop of failing Borg. Be a fun one. The other thing, and this is a bit, okay, I don't know how we're gonna pull this one off, but it'll be fine because it always works out. The other reason I did those headings too is because I'm 40 plus books into the world of Alcara at this point, right? Like we're climbing up there, and who knows how many we're gonna have. So my team and I work really hard at the beginning and outset to make sure that each book feels fresh, right? One of our main focuses from the moment I start developing the idea in my head is how can we make this different, right? Like how can this open up a different part of Alcara or a different character problem we've never seen? How can we do something different to make it fresh without like going into left field and having the readers be like, is this even a Katie book? Like there's a balance, right? So doing that, the headers and having storytelling come about in a different way was just another technique for us to try to keep things fresh for you guys and like exciting in reading because it's something new but not too far left new, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe like Diane said, just lose the dates.
Yeah, I was like, I went back and flipped around, and then after 4 or 5 times, I said, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to dates anymore.
Oh, I love that feedback. Thank you, because I didn't even once think about that. Terry, did you have something?
Oh yeah. Now, first off, when I quit thinking about the dates because I was trying to put that in perspective, and perspective didn't work for that. But what it did do was, now each one of the people writing was a clan member, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So basically what it did for me was it explained, here's someone with great wisdom, and putting in a bit of wisdom in the chapter that's going to say, okay, maybe I should be looking at something, because Andrei starts looking at it. I mean, to me, it's like like you said, it foreshadows what Andrei's thinking about, and then goes on to whatever it helps him in a sense, like he's reading it as well, and he's understanding maybe this is what I've got to do. So once I did the dates, because I figured the dates something, but that's why I asked what time frame Andrei the first was, and now it makes sense because it could have been, all these people in his clan could have been from who knows how far in his past. Yeah. In the clan's past.
Yeah, but this is the history of the first Andrei. Yeah.
Yeah. But the journal headings go way before Andrei, the original Andrei, because it's about the clan magic, not about the Surilas magic. Or Ansis.
So, couple of other questions. Next question.
Ready. Hit me, Terry.
Okay. Is Andrei's forge the same forge as Andrei that built Vavit and repaired Vavit? Is it the same place?
It's the same place, but every Andrei is going to tweak it a little, right? So, like already towards the end of the Swordmaker, this Andrei was putting in, they were putting in a totally different like forge so that he could do multiple swords at one time. But the Swordmaker that did Vavit was very different. So in my head, as I understand it, and like I don't know, Alcara might change this, but it's more about the structure and placement of the house and the magic around the house, and then whatever is within that Andrei is able to kind of tweak and refine and define.
Okay, second question. My understanding in building the map and looking at the map, the clan is got to be to the southwest of the southern network. Is
I'm
that
going to pull
about
up a map, Terry. We're going to pull up a map. We're getting in this, my friend. We're getting in this. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. We're diving. Okay. So here's Zamek Castle right here, kind of in the middle. I see the clan kind of somewhere down around here. Like more tundra kind of down here. So rivers kind of come out of these mountains and we see a little bit more there. I mean, there's more trees than that. Obviously, that's just representing like an actual forest, but right around here is where I see the clan and the glacier. The glacier makes absolutely no sense right there if you ask me, but there's a lot in Alcara that doesn't make a lot of sense.
So I can add some more trees?
Please, my friend, do what you want. You know, Terry, Alcara is this constantly moving target. It seems like every book I write, I'm like, well, shoot, we got to change the map.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Just to let you know, at the top part above Bamberg Castle, there is going to be printed, I think, if I can figure out if the vinyl lettering will stick to the leather, it's going to be unexplored. Across.
So those of you that don't know, Terry has recreated that map in leather. So he's been putting in leather. It's amazing. He showed some of it to us today. And he and I were discussing the map, and I just said, I don't know what, but something else is in the Northern Network, and I'm not allowed to like put boundaries on it yet. So, because remember, I'm not in charge. Like Alcara exists somewhere, and I'm just bringing it to you. So I don't know like what's up there, but there's something. So I appreciate that, Terry, because that leaves it open. I do know that Galoth, his circle is up there, but I couldn't tell you where on the map yet because he hasn't told me. But I just know it's up there. These are so awesome, Terry. I love all your questions. Anyone else? Any other questions that you had? Because go ahead, Greg.
As I mentioned, I'm new here, so I took a look up at Amazon. You folks have finished the book and liked it. Really, I'd post a review. There's only 2 reviews.
There's only 2 reviews on Amazon?
Might as well someone named Katie.
Someone's got to go review. Well, you know what? I'll schedule an email. Thank you, my friend. Especially because people have been nominating it for the Dragon Award, and if we only have 2 reviews on Amazon, that's not really very good.
Out.
Yeah, we need to go get those up.
That's because we don't review on the site.
I know. It's because I ignore Amazon. I utterly ignore Amazon. I only log into Amazon.
To their authors.
They are awful to their authors. So, Greg, if you go to Katie Cross Books, there will definitely be more. I want. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're going for the Dragon Award, getting reviews on Amazon would help.
Yeah, and Goodreads and stuff. You're right. That's great. I'll send out an email. I appreciate that.
I put it on Goodreads when I do them.
Thank you. I just got back active on Goodreads lately, and I'm like, oh, that's why I left. This is so addicting. I do have to ask you guys, were you disappointed that there wasn't really, well, like, hear me out. There wasn't really a romance, unless you consider Andrei's like love affair with the swords as a romance, and it sort of is a first love, the way Terry said it. Andrei really came into his own because of the swords. But were you guys disappointed that he really didn't have a romance? Like he broke up with Anastasia. Well, tell me, Debbie, how do you really feel?
No. I wondered about
he needed to get into this first. He did not need that distraction.
Women are distractions for sure. What were you going to say, Karen?
That I keep telling my daughter all the time, when she's ready for love, it's going to come to her. So you can't force it. So, I mean, that's kind of what it was. Neither one of them was ready for it, and he found something else. So
Well,
guys-
she was just with another man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, spoilers.
I did like his
Well,
relationship.
it's
I
the
can't
book
think of her
club.
name.
It's the book club. There will be spoilers.
I can't think of.
Talk about
I
it.
can't
You're
think
fine,
of the
Garrett.
person that. I can't think of the person that helped him with the
Mila.
Mila.
I liked their relationship, and I thought they worked really well together.
I thought so too. I liked Mila. Andy, go for it.
I was telling Debbie this the other day that it was so funny to me because a while ago I had a friend and we had that discussion for about a year that if there could really exist a friendship between a man and a woman that is just a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't had that really work out in the other books. So I thought that was new, and I like that being new. At first I did think, oh, Mila's making the guy up. And she's just because he's so squared and so into his whatever world, his clan life. So she's probably just saying it to make him feel better and not lose the friendship job, whatever that they were developing. And then she comes in and introduces this guy. I'm like, no. Who the heck is this guy? Is she paying someone? Are they just friends by convenience in front of her village?
Andy's got this other plot going in her head that doesn't exist.
and it kind of just threw me up, but it's really interesting because one of the things that was kind of discussed with this friend of mine is that eventually, if a man and a woman are friends long enough, one or both will develop feelings. And if it's just a one-sided relationship, it either ruins the friendship, or it goes to just being a crush and then forget about it and just being friends again, So I was very interested in seeing where it was going to go with Mila, and kept thinking, okay, so this woman understands him, not like the other one that was just doing it for the sake of tradition.
Yeah, Anastasia.
And she was probably feeling like pressured by all the clan and everything, just like keep in tradition. And she just fell in love with someone that wasn't part of the clan, and it wasn't her fault. I mean, I don't think she actually went looking to hurt him.
Right.
It just happened, so it's really interesting.
Lila just said in the messages he really needed her support, and that's true. He did need a friend. I love Mila. She just came in fully formed and was fixing stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you go, girl. She just entered the scene, and I was like, all right. And there was a time, Lila and Debbie, you might remember this, where I messaged the team and I just said, hey, I was originally going to do this as a romance where Mila and Andrei, Andrei starts falling for Mila and he has to break up with Anastasia. But then I was like, it just didn't feel right. I was like, you don't always have to have that kind of a romance, maybe Andrei is something else. So, and the team was even like, I think it's a good idea if you have one that doesn't have a romance. Most people weighed in and kind of agreed with me, because I like to throw the idea out, because like I said, we work really hard to keep the stories fresh, but good. And you can't misrepresent Alcara, because Alcara will get angry.
I like that other people Anastasia's decision. He was relieved.
Yeah, he was relieved. What'd you say, Diane?
I like that other, he found out his sister knew her and, stuff like that. It was kind of, other people knew her and he's like, oh, it's so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, just this rando connection that I really liked his aunt. I thought she was a lot of fun. Well, I'm glad that you guys agree, because again, just not everyone needs a romance. We don't have to have a story defined by that. And I think that was an important stance I wanted to make in Alcara, right? And it's just, maybe it just wasn't his time. Maybe someone comes along. But in my head, the original Andrei, I just never saw him getting married. I just saw him with the swords before he kind of gave it up. But I definitely saw him as a crotchety old man once he gets older. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be a stinker. So on that thought, what were your feelings on the Alek Popov and Sergei? the Southern Network bad. Debbie shakes her head. So Alek was the new high priest, and Sergei. Wait, is Sergei the guy behind it? It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, it is Sergei, right? Or is Sergei the?
Okay, I'm going to leave now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
I better
bye.
leave now because I haven't got that far.
Okay, yes. But thank
Okay.
you for coming. It was so good to see you. We'll see you
Yeah,
later.
really nice to meet you too.
Okay.
Well, hello to everybody.
Hello.
Bye.
And Mary Part. Sergei is the clan leader. So we're thinking of, is it Nikolov? Yeah, Nikolov. You
Nikolov.
guys,
Yeah.
I can't remember my own characters. There are so many. Sergei is the clan leader. Yeah. So it's Alek,
The
Popov,
puppeteer.
and Nikolov. Yes.
The puppeteer.
So what were your thoughts on the relationship between the clan and the network?
It was interesting to see how disconnected they were, even though they were like into trading and they depended on the silk and whatever, but they were so disconnected.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of good that had passed between them historically. Go ahead, Terry.
My thought was the fact it reminded me a lot of like Hitler taking over the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia, where because there were some reasons, they had things that Czechoslovakia had things that Germany wanted. And the fact that there happened to be some Germans there just made it such that he said, well, all these Germans are there, so we're going to take it over. In the case of the clans versus the high priest, they're scheming, money grubbing, ugly looking people that want to take over for no particular reason other than greed. That was my take, was the fact that and they had no clue, as if they took it over, it wouldn't work because of the way the magic worked for the clan. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
The back to the last part, I kept thinking that somehow, somewhere, Mila's boyfriend was going to wind up getting killed by the high priest somehow or another, and that's how they would get together.
Oh,
you haven't thrown one of those in, so
you guys are a tough crowd. Readers, wow. Oh, you got me thinking though. I genuinely enjoy killing people off for the most part, but I am cognizant that you don't love it when I kill people off. So
Depends on who it is.
It does depend.
Just remember that dragon lived.
Yeah.
Remember that what? The dragon did not live. Elis died.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
No,
he
he
did not die. It's a magical place.
I'm gonna show up with a T-shirt that says Elis lives.
In your heart, my friend. In your heart.
Please do.
He lived. He did. I didn't think he died.
You guys, you're gonna get more Elis in the Sister Witches. Don't worry. He's still around. More drama coming. Don't worry. He did. Lila says he did not, but I'm sorry, all of you. Elis died. But I don't know, right? Like, I'm not in charge, so I could get into the sisterhood saga and realize, oh yeah, no, he really didn't. I don't know.
Told you.
That's awesome. And we forgot. I'm so sorry, Sean. You came in and I didn't welcome you. We were in discussion and I just let you in. But welcome. I don't know where you are in the world, but hopefully you're enjoying the book club and that you enjoyed Swordmaker. Oh, hello, a video.
Hello.
Where are you in the world, my friend?
Calgary, Alberta.
Oh, we love our Canadians. We have a lot of Canadians. Just not tonight.
The frozen cold north. That's where I'm from.
I am in North Montana, so we're.
Well, I won't hold it against you.
Yeah, appreciate that. I tell myself daily, it could be worse. I could be living in Canada because your winter is even longer than mine. So
Yes, we're experiencing some of that right now. There's a blizzard happening. And so I'm just staying home rather than trying to go out anywhere. You know, it's just,
talking
it makes more
books.
sense to do it. Books, yes.
And we're talking about the Swordmaker, which basically takes place in Antarctica, which is also wintry. So we could call it the Arctic if you want it to be more Canadian.
No, you don't have to do that, honest.
You're like, please take me out of here. I'm not here to stay in Canada. Well, welcome to the book club.
Thank you. I have seen that you've posted your book clubs many times, but they're usually at time frames that I'm otherwise occupied. And then you had this one tonight, and I thought, oh, I can join that. And then, of course, I got involved with something else, and then it's like, wait a minute, it's running now. Maybe I can sneak in. And so I did.
I'm so glad you did. It's always so good to meet new readers and chat about the books. Did you finish The Swordmaker?
No. I haven't even started the Swordmaker. I started and finished your first series, the
is it the Dragon Master trilogy? Oh, Miss Mabel, the network series. Okay. Yeah.
Way back when, you know.
Yes,
and so,
I do know.
I would hope you do. Yes. So thanks for writing, and thanks for having this at this point in time. So
well, thank you for coming.
glad that I could join you.
Yeah, well, we haven't given you too many spoilers, but hopefully enough to get you excited. You know about Andrei at least a little if you've read the network series, because you would know the beat. If you remember Bianca's sword at all.
Yes. No,
you're
I remember the sword, but I don't remember the name Andrei, so I'm kind of going.
Okay, so it's only mentioned twice.
When I get to that point, I may go, oh, this is what they were talking about, or it may go right over my head. So,
and that's ideal, really. I mean, it's not like there's like 70 books for you to read, right? So
only 40, right?
Yeah, only 40. I think Sister Witch's book 1 was 62, but that includes some romance off to the side that isn't my young adult fantasy. So there's about, I don't know, Debbie, you do this better than me, but there's like 40 Alcara books or something like that. Something wild. She's like,
47. She's doing the math.
Debbie has to count for me because KD math is real, and it sabotages us daily.
47.
47 Alcara books?
Yes.
That's insane.
Because there's 10 romance and 5 help and happiness.
Oh, but there's Finding Anna.
Right. 46.
Well, I know that one. I just gave up on her. Well, it's good to meet you, Sean. I'm excited that you came and were able to meet with everyone. Well, we have 6 minutes left till the end of this book club.
Oh, wow.
I know. We have, Karen, we'll go to you first. We have another book club next Friday if you want to come back. That one's on The Advocate. If you guys read The Advocate, if you haven't, get reading, because The Advocate is going to be a hot discussion, because there is a lot to discuss in The Advocate. All of you are like, yes. The Advocate's an awesome one. Sean, you could jump into The Advocate if you wanted to. But I do think, no, you want to read the Dragon Master trilogy first. Yeah, you got 3 books before you want to read The Advocate. But come discuss with us if you want. And then the last Friday of the month, we will be talking about Sister Witch's book 1. Is that right? Yes, that's right. We had these 2 to catch up. So next week will be another book club. There will be a break when I'm at Fantasy as a special guest, and then the Sister Witch's book 1. Karen, shoot.
I like Sasha.
I know, isn't she fun? So Sasha's the aunt that ends up taking over. She's plucky.
She should have. She should have taken it.
Terry, you guessed it, right? You guessed that she was going to be the one that took over, right? Did anyone else see it coming?
I did.
Yeah,
I figured it.
Yeah.
The only thing I've ever guessed out of you.
Okay. When she said that she'd read the whole book, like from finish to end, I was like, yeah, no, I have no doubts.
Yeah, that one wasn't really, I wasn't trying to hide that one. I think it was pretty obvious who was going to go to, because there wasn't really a way to to do that and have you rooting for her, right? Like to have her kind of be this hidden
Right.
one that could go. The question was more about how does Andrei kind of make this happen? I'm glad you liked her though. She was a favorite for me too. She's plucky. Sorry, I have to get my dog. Anyone else? Any final questions or discussion points you want to talk about? Well,
I don't know if it's that I want another continuation of the story to get to know a bit more, but I felt like it was very slow at the beginning, and then it just kind of like got a lot of speed, and then it closed so fast that I was like, okay, I want more. I think my ebook is defective. I think it's missing a couple of chapters because I felt like I wasn't ready for the story to end.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I still had a couple of questions, you know, like Sasha, how she was gonna, you know, start the whole
The
thing.
transition.
And yeah, and what were people gonna react to her like that? You know, like because you know there's a group that support her and there's a group that's against her, and how that was gonna play out, you know, when she was gonna just come out and okay, I'm the leader now, so follow the leader.
Back up. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you wanted wanted more at the end. That's really good. It was a different book, and it did move a little bit slower when you pit it up against something like War of the Gods, right? When you're putting it against some of these like fast Bianca books, or even Advocate, which moved at light speed. That one was there was just so much to cover in the Advocate. That book could have been like 30,000 words longer. It did move a little slower because the emphasis was really just so much of it was about the magic, right? It was really like trying to keep that moving but have the impact of the magic was a really tricky thing that the beta readers and I like had to discuss quite a bit. Like, where does this move forward? There were even slower portions that we really like excised and cut out and got rid of so that things moved as fast as possible without kind of ghosting the two magics that a lot of the readers were interested in. Like the readers wanted more of the on-cease magic and silk trade. And so it was an interesting balance. It was really good for me as an author. Like I learned a lot of lessons and a lot of different things about timing and pacing. But it was a rolling stone. Like it kind of creeps and then boom, it's just barreling and it's kind of happening. Yeah. That's a good metaphor for it. And then there's the Advocate, which is just a wrecking ball.
That good book. I loved it.
I love that book.
I know.
I'm
Terry,
so
did you
for
have
the
anything else?
The last thing I was going to say is if I were picking my favorite reader thing, find out what happens with this Andrei, and is there a gap, or is there actually the next guy comes in and says, I don't know why I'm here, but I want swords.
That's essentially what happens. Yeah. I mean, it's different because I have a couple Andres in my head, right? Like I have. I'm so excited for you guys to read The Beat Forged. I have some Andres in my head, and it happens differently, but basically it comes down to the same sort of deal. There's never not an Andrei, right? So the next one is picking up where the current one is leaving off, whether that is suddenly and they're thrust into it like this Andrei, or they've been apprenticing for a while. Just kind of depends on how they come about it, which is fun because it leaves it open for a plethora of stories where the new Andres come into the responsibilities and they're chosen. But I can say that there's never not an Andrei. There's always an Andrei. So yeah.
Good.
Well, all of my friends, this was the fastest hour of my life.
Yeah, it was fast.
That was
Did you
awesome.
see my message?
I did. Yeah, I can hang out and answer your question. Is there an Andrei in Sister Witches is a question that Lila just asked. There might be now.
Well, you got how many more books to write?
Gosh, you guys, I really think there might end up being 15.
See, I don't know why I thought when you said that earlier about 12, I'm like, I thought it was 9.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
That Andrei would be the one who would forge the beat, wouldn't it? I mean, if
no, we're still 100 years from Bianca.
Right, yeah, but like Isadora and all that, they're still alive in Bianca, so
yeah, but only the Sister Witches are alive, right? So it's only Sana and Isadora, and there's a reason.
But we also know that in between the time that she got the sword and she goes to get it fixed, there's a new one. So wouldn't he have to be old too? Or I guess maybe he died young. I don't know, the original forger, you know what I mean? But
the forger that did Bianca, I have in my mind is a 50-something guy that dies of a heart attack. Like honestly, I've thought about this. Like, well, how did that guy die? But I have him like in his 50s in my brain. I haven't actually written that, so it could be something else. Because frankly, I never know what's going to come on the page. But yeah, he did. I mean, he wasn't an old man when he died because some people just die young. But it would be a different Andrei. Like it would be a totally different Andrei. But I never thought about bringing Andrei into the Sister Witches. I'm gonna think about that. That'd be really fun. You guys, this is a problem. It's like an addiction. Did I answer the question? What were we talking about?
What was the question
If
again?
there was gonna be an Andrei and Sister Witches.
Oh, Lila asked if there's gonna be an Andrei and Sister Witches. Well, there might be now, Lila.
So now we went from 9 books to 12 books to 15 books.
I know.
It's a problem.
And then if there's an Andrei in it, who knows?
But so here's the deal. My plan is to have the Sister Witches go up until Mildred moves to the outskirts of Chatham City as a little girl.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So if you guys have read Mildred's Resistance, that puts us about I know, like 60-ish years before Bianca. So I really need to cover about 40 years in the Sister Witches. And right now I've covered 1.5 years in 3 books.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
Which is fine, but the next, so even though it's all the same series, I plot them as trilogies, right? So this first trilogy I sent the 3rd book to the beta readers and it's wrapping up, and they'll kind of have a new chunk to bite off in the next trilogy. And that one's happening a couple years down the road and it might space out a bit more. So I think it'll work out okay to work over 9 books, but I just have this dark feeling that they're not done. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
I think there needs to be an Andrei.
Anyway, we'll see. I'll know if it needs to work out. It's fine. It's fine. They talk to me at night like I'm a creep. So all of you, I hope to see all of you next week with the Advocate, because the Advocate's going to be a hop-in discussion. Sean, you could totally come just to laugh at
I've got
us.
to do that one.
Yeah, you do. You do got to
Can
do
we
that.
plan a longer call for the Advocate?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. We need a longer call.
Cover it.
Go to bed. Love you. Yes, we can do 1.5 hours because it might need it.
It's
a
so
one.
good.
I know.
Yes.
It is
I love
such a
it.
good one. Terry, say hi to your wife. Oh, the AirPod just fell out. Hello, it's good to see you. Hi. All right, y'all. I gotta go help my kids go to bed. But you are the highlight of my week. Thank you so much. I look forward to the 90 minutes or 2 hours next week. We'll see how far it goes.
Yeah. Woohoo.
Woohoo. Sister Witches might end up being that long too, because there's a lot in that one also. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later, and thank you so much, and have a good weekend. Good night, everyone.